this is Ashton. The last video we had was just setting up the basic Oracle using Docker. So now let's dive into heightening the developer's experience. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to use Visual Code, and I'm going to use Git, and I'm going to use a file system. So just to give some insight on if you don't know what Git is, let's start at Git. It's source control. So this is my source control, and what I can do is I do a bunch of different languages. So right here I can actually source and version. I can version all of my different pieces of code. So that's my snippets actually, and I can put snippets in. So if we go over to my repos, um, if you notice, let's do like my C programming class that I've done a few times. So here's some of my assignments. Well, one of my assignments, one of the very basic assignments, and if you can look, if you can see, if I do, I can actually see the history of everything that goes on. You know, these are the different times that I made edits here, and this is just to keep track of what was changed, what might have broke your code. You can go back, so you can go to commits, which is right here. You can see all the commits you did and all the comments you made. We have this thing that's called branches, where I can have different branches, and that's all about your Git flow, which is kind of an advanced subject. Then we have something called pull requests, when we want to take features and put them back into another branch. We branch them out into another branch and then merge them into maybe your main branch, which is an advanced subject. I just wanted to give the very basics of what this tool is for. This tool will eliminate the losing students losing work, and students being able to backtrack what they changed and what might have broke their code. If you want to download Git, you can actually go to, let's actually go to the page. So if you actually go onto Google and use a Git download, oops, you do a Git download right here. So Git download. Windows, Mac, and Linux is supported. So in Windows case, you can actually just click on the download for Windows, and then you can download everything. The documentation is here. There's some very basic commands that you will have to learn how to do. And I might get into some of those today, possibly. But this is all about heightening your developer experience, for you to be able to backtrack, for you to be able to do your PSQL in a way where you're not jumping through command line if you're not a big command line type person. Also, one thing I do use is in this video, we'll be using Visual Code. You can use any editor you want. So right here, this is actual Visual Code right here. As you can see, you can Google it. Windows, Mac, and Linux is supported. This is one of the text editors that I actually use, and it's kind of borderline IDE because you get the telesense and stuff like that. You can set different workflows for testing your applications locally. So let's get to the bread and butter. So I have Visual Code up, okay, and so right here I have a script for my Visual Code, and say I go through here and let's bring DB Beaver. So I use DB Beaver in order to test out the output of what my script to generate. So it'll be just for the data, not for the formatting that you put in your PLSQL. So right here, like again, we run our query, and this is the results we want. Okay, but this might show up differently in your spool. So what I did was I wrote a script here, it's simple, very simple, and I'm going to make it pull from departments. So a couple things to remember. The spool.sql that I made, which it wouldn't be spool.sql, it would be something like the name of your application or whatever the SQL is doing. Um, this would be the source, okay? So in here I have a bit of formatting, telling PLSQL or Oracle how to format my output, and then I set echo on to print everything out, and then I open a file, and I print these results with the source. So that's why I'm using echo with the source. So I can see, usually we use this for logging sometimes. And so I can see what my output is. And if I have um, any syntax errors when I actually integrate my select statements with my PSQL SQL file. Okay. So, so after we do our test, and this is all about developer experience. Say you have all of the uh, all of the scripts that you want to run, and the script is running fine, it looks great. And so, say we have, everything is looking good. So let's take departments right here, and let's run departments. Okay, in our DB Beaver. This is my first step when I want to develop something. I want to get a feel for the data. I want to see what I'm looking at, and stuff like that. Okay. So now that we got the data that we want, what we can do is we can go over and we can make our file. So what I did was, if you go into, let's go and find this spool file right here. So if we go into, let's see, let's go into Reveal and Explore. All right. So right here is where it actually is. Okay. When I reveal it in my Explorer, this is that spool, and I have it open here. Okay. And if you notice, I have a little folder right here, and that's for my Git. So whenever I want to make changes to my Git source control and all that stuff, so I can actually, once I make changes, I can push things up and all that. That's already made when you do your Git init, when you start doing your source control and all of that. But we want to talk about just the basics of developer experience and why I chose this path for some of my students. Some of the beginners that don't really like command line too much. I like to do less command line and more development within, a human readable format. Okay. So let's do this. Let's connect to our SQL database. So let's do this. And we'll do our SQL plus. See if I got, so SQL plus. Let's look at our Docker, because I have it running in Docker. Okay. So we have it in Docker right now. And as I've stated in the last video, the 49163. So I'll do the SQL plus. And let's connect with syst, and then our password, and then it'll be localhost, because our port forwarding, we want to go through our local host, and then we take the 49163 port, and what we want to do is state our database, and then we do as sys dba. Okay. Whoops. Uh-oh. Let's see. Ah, we missed something. So right here, what we need to do is put the @ sign right here. Okay. So let's connect. Okay, so now we're in. All right. So what I like to do a test, maybe to make sure I got the right database, let's take our statement in here, and let's paste our statement in. All right, so everything is working. Looks good. Okay. So now, whenever you want to run your spool, so this is what we're expecting in our code. We're expecting to open a spool in the same directory. And then what we're expecting to do is right here on our select, do our select statement, and then close the spool. Okay, hopefully this works out perfectly. Okay, so let's run it. Now remember, don't name the spool SQL, well, your source, the same name as what you want to output to, because you're going to overwrite your script. I've done that a couple times, not paying attention. So just make sure these names are totally different. Okay. So now, what we do is we go in, and what we can do is, the first thing we do is we type the @ sign. And then what we can do is we can take this, since you're on Windows, we can take advantage of the drag and drop, and we can drop this file here. Okay. And so if we run it, okay, the spool closed. And let's see. Uh-oh. Let's do this. Ooh. See? I messed up. So let's figure out why this spool Here we go. This is why. And it's off. Okay. And then I'll save it. And this is why I talk about the developer experience. And see, everything is running properly now. Sorry about that. So if we go and let's try to find that spool. So let's see where that spool is. Maybe I can do an exit and I can do a ls. And see, there go that spool right there. So actually, when you actually run this, the spool is going to go in the directory that you ran the SQL plus in. So if I go to this directory right here, and let's backtrack to here. So right here, right there. So we actually have right here, we have what we ran. Then we have, this is that formatting we talked about, which depends on how you wrote your PLSQL. And then we got the spool off. If we want to eliminate, the source here, what we can do is turn the echo off. And make sure you close this file too. Actually, what we'll do is we change the spool name too. And what we'll do is let's try and run our SQL again. And then let's do our at. And what we're going to do is take that file again. We're going to go backwards, put it here, and let's run it again. Okay. So now let's go back to ashto. And let's look at our second spool. Let's see if it did what we expected. See, now we do not see the actual source. We only see the output. Okay. So that's how I actually heighten my developer experience. And I might make another video for the Git portion because it might be a big learning gap. And if you notice right here, I can actually interact with my Git from here. I can push my files up to here. So see how I have this right here and it tells me what I modified right here. So I can actually add this and let's say change in spool or something like that. And let's push it up. Okay. And then now we pushed it up. So let's go to our source control, which I have it in Bitbucket. And let's see, where did I put that repository? I should have had it up. So if I go over to repositories here, and here it is right here, I bet. I bet you this is it right here. Okay. No, this is not the spool file. No worries. So what I'll do is I'll make another video and talk more about the Git source control because that'll be a video in its own.